Hello everyone, my name is Dementia Master Studios. Welcome to day 2 of looking at the crimes committed by Harumi when it comes to Ninjago. In my previous video, I talked about all the crimes that Harumi committed and gave you the total amount of crimes. And in today's video, I will be going over the sentencing and seeing how long Harumi would go to jail, as well as also bringing up a couple things I ended up missing when it came to the previous video. Also, in part 1 of this, I'm going to be going in more depth when it comes to the actual crimes that Harumi committed. Meanwhile, in today's video, I will only be going over the sentencing. So, let us begin. Now, one thing I do feel I need to say is that while I was doing my research, I ended up finding a variety of different sentences when it came to the crimes that I looked for. So you can consider this to be less of an exact amount and more of a general idea as to how long Harumi would end up going to jail for. Also, at the same time, for some crimes I wasn't able to find any kind of sentence, with those being starring and leading a criminal organization, demonic cult activity, demonic rituals, assault with intent to kill, and usurping the throne. Again, I wasn't able to find any exact sentencing when it came to this, so if you guys have an idea when it comes to this, please tell me down in the comments section. Also, correct me if I ended up getting any of these sentences wrong, because again, I ended up finding a variety of different sentences while I was doing research for this, and let's begin. Also, one other thing for anyone who says that when it comes to Harumi, her saving 3 people makes up for all the terrible stuff she did, or that when it comes to Harumi's sentence, it wouldn't be that long, yeah, that's not going to be true at all. First up, we have Harumi down for murder, and when it comes to that, Harumi would end up getting a life sentence for that. Up next, we have regicide for the death of the Emperor and Empress, and regicide would end up getting Harumi the death penalty. Up next, we then have assassination, and this would end up counting as another life sentence for Harumi. We then have manslaughter, and when it comes to that, it is a 25-year sentence. After this, we have 2 cases of domestic terrorism, and when it comes to that, Harumi would once again end up getting the death penalty for both of those. We also have 2 cases of treason, first treason and then high treason, and both these would carry a life sentence. After this, we have 2 cases of use of outlawed weapons, with those obviously being the explosives that Harumi used in order to blow up the Palace's secrets. Those count as homemade weapons, as well as also the equivalent of mines, and when it comes to outlawed weapons, those are war crimes, and the minimum sentence for a war crime is 20 years, so this would end up being a 40-year sentence. After that, we then have theft, with Harumi obviously stealing the Mask of Deception, and this would end up giving Harumi a 15-year sentence. After this, when it comes to Harumi, we have cyber attack, and this would end up giving Harumi 20 years in jail. After this, we then have attempted murder, which is a sentence of being 48 years, and Harumi ended up doing this 6 times over the events of the show, which would net Harumi 288 years behind bars. After this, we end up having 2 cases of assault and battery. I left battery out of the previous video because assault and battery go hand in hand with the 2. That was my mistake. And when it comes to that, they would each end up counting as a 1-year sentence, so that would end up being 4 years in total for both charges. However, when it comes to the assault charge, we can also end up changing that into assault with a deadly weapon, considering the fact that when it comes to Harumi, she ended up using a knife, and assault with a deadly weapon ends up counting as being a 32-year sentence, so that would end up being 66 years in total. After this, we have 2 cases of coercion, and when it comes to coercion, that is a 3-year sentence, so with them happening twice, that is 6 years. After this, we then have profiting off of stolen goods, with that being the Oni masks, and that would end up giving Harumi a 1-year sentence. After this, we have resisting arrest, and this would also give Harumi a 1-year sentence. We then mark Harumi down for prison break, which would end up giving her a 5-year sentence. After this, we then have military coup, which would end up giving Harumi a 20-year sentence. After this, we then have attacking and killing civilians, which is also a war crime, so that would once again give Harumi 20 years in prison. And Harumi in general ends up committing war crimes, so let's just add on another 20 years for that. After this, we then have 3 cases of threatening with a deadly weapon, and this would end up giving Harumi a 3-year sentence, and given that it happened 3 times, this would end up being a 9-year sentence in total. After that, we have negligence, and when it comes to this, Harumi would end up getting 10 years in prison. After this, we have trespassing. I left this out of the previous video by accident, and when it comes to trespassing, this was when Harumi and the Sons of Garmadon ended up using the remains of the Palace's secrets to resurrect Lord Garmadon, considering the fact that the Palace's secrets at this point would still have been considered a crime scene. And when it comes to the sentence, Harumi would end up getting 1 year in prison. After this, we then have false imprisonment for Lloyd and Misako, and when it comes to this, false imprisonment carries a 1-year sentence, and given that happened twice, that would be 2 years in prison. After this, we then have conspiracy to commit murder, considering what happened before the show actually started, and this would once again give Harumi a life sentence. After this, we then have child abduction, which would give Harumi a 4-year sentence. And finally, we have inciting violence, which would end up giving Harumi a 1-year sentence. So now let's tally up all the results. So in the end, if Harumi was found guilty for all this stuff that she ended up committing during the events of the show, she would end up having a sentence of 3 death penalties, 5 life sentences, and 595 years in prison. Yeah, Harumi's not getting out of jail when you look at it. And so that's pretty much it when you look at it. And so I'm sure there's something that a lot of you guys are probably wondering. Why did I make these videos in the first place? Well, mainly, I just thought it would be something that would be fun to do, honestly, because when it comes to Harumi, she's one of the very few villains where when it comes to Ninjago, you can actually find legitimate real-world crimes that she has committed, and you can see just how long the sentencing would be. So again, I just thought that would be something kind of fun. But the other big reason is because of this. I've said on multiple occasions when it comes to my videos that I feel that when it comes to Harumi, she is the most evil and irredeemable villain in the entirety of the show. And I think that this honestly shows just how evil Harumi truly is when you look at it. And so that's pretty much all I got for you guys. So please, tell me down below in the comment section, are there any other villains that you guys want me to take a look at when it comes to their crimes? And I'll see what I can do, maybe even turn this into some kind of a series. And that's all I got for you guys. Later guys, this is Dimension Master Studios, signing off.